question, how are we going to fund this?
Oh, we've planned to build the 4 new submarines in our 10-year equipment programme we published in January. The cost will be spread over some 20 years, but this is a decision we need to take now. It was always programmed for next year, so we're committing very clearly in our manifesto that we will renew our 4 nuclear submarines. And the real danger now, 4 weeks' time, is that if you vote Labour, you could well end up with us losing the nuclear submarines because of the agreement that the SNP are likely to do to prop up Mr Miliband in power.
I'll pick up on that point in a moment, but I just want to get a clarification how much it's going to cost, because we have heard from Nicola Sturgeon of the SNP who's saying that it's going to cost £100 billion.
We've costed it at around £25 billion, and that cost, remember, is spread over... Yes, but it's spread over 20 to 30 years and is a price well worth paying to keep this country safe. That's a decision every successive government has taken for the last 50, 60 years, and it's something that's now in doubt because she has said this is a red line that she will not cross. She will not prop up a Labour government. So there's a real risk here for voters in England as well as Scotland that if you vote for Edward Miliband, you could end up with us losing our nuclear submarines.
Well, the Labour Party say that's frankly scaremongering, it's a red line for them, and they're absolutely committed to renewing Trident. And although they're open to looking at perhaps cheaper alternatives, if it needs to be 4 submarines, as you're saying you will commit to, then they'll do the same.
Well, we looked at the alternatives. We looked at all the different costs, whether there was a cheaper system, and this is actually a submarine-based system, is the cheapest way of continuing the nuclear deterrent. But look, you can't be sure. If you vote for Labour 4 weeks today, you can't be sure what kind of coalition might emerge. And the SNP have made it crystal clear that this is a red line for them, that they will not tolerate the renewal of the deterrent. So you'll have ambiguity. The only way to be absolutely certain that you'll retain Britain's nuclear deterrent is to vote Conservative, and that is the commitment we're making today.
And that is the speech that you're going to be making later on today, and indeed you've written in the Times today about this very issue. I just wanted to ask you how exactly Ed Miliband's relationship with his brother is in any way relevant to national security or indeed Trident.
Well, this is an issue of trust. We have to be absolutely sure that we're going to keep our deterrent, and if you vote Labour, there is the uncertainty. It could end up in a coalition, and he could be forced to bargain away the nuclear deterrent.
You've been in a coalition for the last 5 years, and the Liberal Democrats said in their manifesto quite clearly in 2010 that they were opposed to Trident and that they weren't interested in renewing it and that they wanted nuclear disarmament.
Yes, but we were able to form a government with them on the basis that they could vote against it. She has made it absolutely clear for the SNP that they will not support a future Labour government if there's going to be a renewal of the submarine. So that is the risk this country faces. Not simply higher taxes and higher borrowing, but weaker defences if we end up with some kind of unholy alliance between Labour and the SNP. That's the risk. The only way to be absolutely certain is to vote Conservative in 4 weeks' time.
I still don't understand why a big opportunity to launch a manifesto pledge, as you're doing today, has to disintegrate into something so personal, and is one of the reasons why a lot of people think that politics is so toxic today. I mean, the language you used describing Mr Miliband as weak and having a lust for power, a backstabber, that he backstabbed his brother and that he would do the same now to the country. I mean, it does smack a little bit of desperation.
No, I mean, clearly Ed Miliband is going to be in a weak position if he has to cobble together a government with the SNP who will not support the renewal of our nuclear deterrent. So this is an issue of trust and certainty. If you want to be absolutely sure that we're going to keep up this nation's defences, then you've got to stay and vote Conservative. Otherwise, you don't know what you could end up with. You could end up with higher taxes, more borrowing, weaker defence, and a coalition where the SNP will be driving the future Labour government. They'll be propping it up.
If you want to make the case for Trident, why don't we have a sensible debate about that and the need for submarines, how they will protect our shores, what the international threats might be, rather than about a personality, a personal attack on somebody's family? I mean, you know, Ed Miliband and his brother ran a fair contest that they both entered into willingly. I don't see how it's relevant.
Well, this is in the end an issue, as I say, of judgment and of trust. And the British people need to be clear when they vote in 4 weeks' time exactly what they're voting for. Now, we can't be clear with Labour because you've heard from the SNP
but
that
why aren't we talking about Trident when we talk about that? Why aren't we talking about, you know, the issues surrounding it, the costs, where it will be built, what the benefits will be?
But sure, but Trident is the issue that the SNP is saying is their red line. They will not prop up a future Labour government unless he gets rid of the submarines. Now, we are making today our position absolutely clear.
Yes, you are, with the headline saying backstabber Mr Miliband. I mean, that's not necessarily where the debate should be going. That's my argument.
Well, it's where the debate is going because...
But is that, I mean, indicative of the Conservative campaign that we're going to see over the course of the next 4 weeks? It's just going to be personal slurs and mudslinging.
No, we're not slinging mud. We're setting out very clearly what our commitment is, and it's for Mr Miliband to explain now how he would deal with a possible Labour government that is propped up by the SNP, that has said very clearly, and they say we're offering to make Ed Miliband Prime Minister, but only on condition that he gets rid of the nuclear deterrent. Now, we're setting out very clearly that that kind of backstairs deal is simply unacceptable. You can't gamble away Britain's security with some kind of grubby backroom deal to appease the SNP in Scotland. This is an issue that affects the whole of Britain. It's Britain's security that's at risk. And in 4 weeks' time, we want to be absolutely sure that people know what they're voting for. And they're voting for a position of certainty.
You know, viewers at home who are watching this, who are emailing and getting in touch, are asking why we're talking about Ed Miliband and his relationship with his brother. And indeed, if you say it's not mudslinging and we can't expect more mudslinging, then, you know, to use the words backstabbing his own brother and that he will now backstab the nation, do you not accept that that's mudslinging?
No, this is, as I said, an issue of trust and of character. And we need to be clear whether or not you're prepared to support our nuclear deterrent. We've made it clear we are going to renew those submarines. If you vote Labour, you could end up, because of the SNP position, you could end up with a coalition where Ed Miliband does some grubby deal behind the scenes with Nicola Sturgeon of the SNP, and we need to get that out into the open so that people know in 4 weeks' time exactly what they're voting for.